So when we look at Star Wars solely as a commodity, we keep hearing about how Disney made this worthwhile investment. They spent over $4 billion on that thing, but hey, they've already made that back and more, right? The only problem with saying that is that people use the simplistic mathematics. They say, hey, worldwide box office, look at those numbers minus the $4 billion, and there we are. Look at how much has been made. The problem with that is it doesn't take into account costs. It doesn't take into account expenditures. It doesn't take into account anything else. And when you start breaking that down, yeah, Disney may be in the hole for billions still. So hey there. So today you and I are returning to the numbers of the biggest trash fire out there. We are talking about Disney Star Wars. We're breaking down a post, and whether you agree with everything within this post, say the tax ratings and on, there's still a lot of factors in here that do resonate and do matter. And this, it may not be up to date, but still think about where these numbers would be now and what you would have to do to just break even. Now, before we get into this too, if you like this content, you want to help out the channel, consider subscribing to it. That's definitely been helping out too. I appreciate that. I can't say that enough. Also consider interacting with videos by sharing them, by liking and leaving comments. You can just +1, say interaction. All of that helps, and thank you for listening to my spiel. So this post, I think, breaks this down well. And what we really run into, again, worldwide box office gross. People will take that number, they'll subtract it from 4 billion, and they'll say, hey, that's where our money is. The problem with this is, as they break down in here, a common fallacy is to look primarily at the gross numbers, but those numbers only tell us if a film is popular, not if it's profitable. And that is very, very true. Prior to the divisive Last Jedi, Star Wars was considered high demand, so Disney was able to net domestically 64% of box office gross for The Force Awakens, 65% gross for The Last Jedi, 60% for Rogue One and Solo. Their total net domestic box office intake for all 4 films was thus $1.44 billion. So, I mean, that doesn't sound as great when we're talking about that domestic number. Now, the foreign box office takes are roughly 20% lower than that, i.e. you get about 45% to your 65% for something like, say, The Last Jedi. So, their foreign net intake was just over $1 billion. I mean, when you look at those two numbers together, wow, now we're talking about $2.44 billion made, not the staggering numbers that people have been throwing out there. Therefore, the total amount Disney actually, quote unquote, took home from the $4.8 billion box office of all 4 films is $2.514 billion. But that's before costs. See, that's another thing that people run into as well. They don't bring into costs. And remember, this is going to bring in 2 types of costs. This is going to bring in the production costs, and this is going to bring in advertisement costs. And remember, with advertisement costs for something like a Star Wars movie, you're talking double the production easily. I mean, they get into staggering amounts of money. So when you talk about the gross DVD Blu-ray sales for all 3 films released, that's almost $45 million. Disney's net take from that is lower than $172,450,000, but they're going to use that to inflate for Solo's pending release. So you can tell when this stuff was coming out. Now, from the front and back end costs, Disney's production for all of 4 films there was $1 billion in change. So their remaining net profit that you're looking at is $1.681 billion. So those numbers that people have been talking about for $4 billion plus that $4.8 billion, actually you're only seeing 1.681 here. Then the advertising costs, they get removed too. And you're talking about around $760 million. So now Disney, they're left with under $1 billion. That doesn't even include in tax rates, which they throw in here, that the average annualized corporate tax rate is 31.17%. So if you deduct another $315 million to pay taxes, just figuring at that, you're talking about approaching the real figures here. And those real figures, including the DVD Blu-ray sales, are around $606,975,000. Now, I know when people went through this too, they talked about the idea that, well, tax rates, they're not so cut and dry. And okay, I mean, if we're going to use that, no matter how you slice it, still the point remains. 4.8 billion versus, say, $1 billion. Yeah, you're not making your money back that way. Then on top of that, they talk about the investment for making money back as far as merchandising. See, a lot of people, they will take the merchandising at face value, and they'll say that that is, again, what a company makes. But the problem with this is that you're talking about making around 7.16% on average. That's all you get back from your merchandising. So compounding this issue too, it's extremely difficult to come to the penny number for sales generated for all Star Wars merchandise. We have thus used figures here for the well-known and respected investment banking firms to come to a closer approximation. So if you look at these numbers here, you'll notice something right off the bat. You'll notice good revenue made, and then you'll notice this fall off. And we know that this continues as we go forward. Why? Because a divisive movie was put in there. You have fatigue, and well, people start realizing that merchandising, it's not worth anything. See, when you look at the nostalgia there, people bought products because of that. They also continue to buy products because of collectability. Now, those things, they don't have anything. And when you look at these numbers here, wow, the take home from say a $3 billion is only about $215 million. For a Disney 3.24, that's $231.9 million, 1.75, $125.3 million. And again, you notice these numbers, they're not recovering, and they won't. They continue to fall off every freaking year. So the Disney's total profit from all the Star Wars merchandising for 2015, $572.2 million less taxes. We're talking about leaving a $376.7 million there. That means Disney's current complete profit for 4 movies and merchandising is around $1 billion. So they are still in the hole for over $3 billion when you don't count in, that newest array. I mean, again, we still have New Year's to add into that, but even with this, you're still talking about a franchise that has to be down billions. Now, doesn't that explain the panic that we've seen behind the scenes? Because people, they'll look at this box office revenue and they'll say, man, this thing, it's doing so great. I mean, look at how Episode 8 did. Well, the problem with Episode 8, like I say, look at the fall off that you saw in merchandising, but also that says that you have an interest fall off. See, Episode 9 has been able to generate buzz because of one thing out there. It's been able to do it because of the end of something. You also have Disney Plus that is utilizing this well. Disney brings home a higher amount from it, but still, even with all that figured in, think about the performance with that. And also, I mean, we're talking about this doing worse as far as you go forward. You're going to pick up less box office revenue. So as you continue going forward, losing fans, that's a terrible, terrible way to carry your product. This, as they say, is a genuine problem for Disney. Solo generated a loss, so the trend has actually reversed and become a negative trend. Now, if you look at negative trending, Disney cannot recoup this kind of money. And even if we think that they're bordering on a possible negative trend, especially for sideline projects, that really showcases why they would cut those off too. That's why you've had talk about The Mandalorian becoming a movie and not other things becoming movies, because the Solo thing, yeah, that scared them quite a bit. I mean, you think about the cost that you go out and you put into that. Even if you make that back and break even, you still lose on future projects because people, they'll stop paying attention. But anyway, I thought that this was interesting. And again, even if you disagree with some of these numbers, you have to wonder how much money is out there and how much they're still in the hole for. Because when you figure up these things, oh yeah, you're talking about Disney still being the hole for quite a bit. But anyway, I want your thoughts on this. I want to see what you think about it. Leave me your comments on it. And also, I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for participating. You make this stuff possible. Disney forgot that, and hey, woe be it unto them. That's the thing that I enjoy about these companies, and I enjoy talking about with them, because different year, but the same old results. They thought they had a license to print money, and it turned out that they didn't. I never want to follow in the same formula, so I want to thank you for your time here. You can go out and help with the interactions. That's awesome, but your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it here. I want to say, again, concluding, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a great holiday here, and we'll see you next.